Welcome to lecture on oscillations and waves.
So in this video lecture, I am going to discuss mass suspended to spring, force constant and its physical significance, equivalent force constant for springs in series combination, equivalent force constant for springs in parallel combination, complex notation of the simple harmonic motion, phasor representation of simple harmonic motion,
Vertical vibration of mass suspended to the spring. So this is the arrangement here. So it consists of a spring which is attached to the rigid support here vertically, and the other end of the spring is connected to the mass. So when you pull this particular mass in the downward direction, then release. So this spring is set into vertical oscillations. So we can prove that this is nothing but the simple harmonic motion. The oscillations of this mass suspended to spring is the simple harmonic motion. So in this case, we are considering the ideal spring. So the ideal spring should have the following three characteristics. The first one, the spring is assumed to be light. That is, the mass of this particular spring is neglected compared with the mass suspended here. Second one is there are no dissipative forces tending to decrease the motion of the spring. So strictly speaking, it is not so. So there is a air resistance or any other types of dissipative forces are acting on this particular system. So we are considering the ideal conditions where there is no dissipative forces. Third one is the restoring force exerted by the spring is directly proportional to the extension. Consider a helical spring of negligible mass is suspended from the rigid support A, and it is loaded with the mass m at the lower end. If the spring is stretched by a downward force applying at the lower end and then released, the mass begins to vibrate harmonically by up and down about the mean position. So this is nothing but the simple harmonic motion. So if x is the small extension or the compression in the spring from the mean position here, then the restoring force produced in the spring is given by F is equal to minus kx, because restoring force is proportional to negative of the displacement. That is, F is proportional to minus x, or F is equal to minus kx, where k is the constant that is called proportionality constant or the spring constant. The equation of motion of the mass is given by m into d squared x by dt squared is equal to minus kx, because the force, restoring force, is equal to the applied force. So that is given by the mass into acceleration. So here m d squared x by dt squared represents the force. So d squared x by dt squared is the acceleration. So therefore d squared x by dt squared is equal to minus k by m into x. So let us consider this k by m is equal to omega squared. So then we will get d squared x by dt squared is equal to minus omega squared x. So now d squared x by dt squared is equal to minus omega squared x. So this represents a simple harmonic motion with the angular frequency omega, which is given by omega is equal to square root of k by m, where k is the force constant and m is the mass suspended here, because we are neglecting the mass of the spring here. So the period of vertical oscillation of the spring t is equal to 2 pi by omega. So that is equal to 2 pi into square root of m by k, because omega is equal to square root of k by m. So this is the expression for the period of oscillation. So above equation indicates that the time period is inversely proportional to the force constant. So that is the t is inversely proportional to square root of k. Now let us discuss more about this force constant. So applied force F is equal to Kx, because the restoring force is equal and opposite to the applied force. So restoring force F is equal to minus Kx. So the applied force F is equal to K into X. So where K is the force constant and X is the displacement. Force constant K is equal to F by X. Now if you put X is equal to 1 meter, then this K becomes equal to F. So therefore we can define the force constant as, force constant is the magnitude of the applied force that produces the unit extension in the spring while it is loaded within the elastic limit. So this is the definition of the force constant. So what is the physical significance of the force constant? Physically, force constant is a measure of stiffness. In the case of springs, it represents how much force it takes to stretch the spring over a unit length. Thus, springs with the larger value for force constant will be stiffer. It is also called the spring constant, or sometimes even as a stiffness factor. The vertical oscillations of a mass suspended by spring is a good example for a mechanical oscillator. Let us study the same for the combination of two springs in series and also in parallel, and evaluate the force constant in each of these cases. So first let us consider the equivalent force constant for spring in a series combination. So let us consider two idealized springs S1 and S2 connected in a series. So this is a spring S1 and this is a spring S2 which is connected in a series. Let K1 is the spring constant for S1 and K2 is the spring constant for S2. When mass M is attached to the lower end of the combination, the extension produced in the spring S1 is X1 and the extension produced in the spring S2 is X2, and the total extension produced in the combination is equal to X. So therefore X is equal to X1 plus X2. So from Hooke's law, here the force acting is given by force is equal to, for the first spring, force F is equal to minus Kx1. Similarly, the same force is acting on the second spring also. So therefore F is equal, for the second spring, F is equal to minus Kx2. So now same mass cause extension in both the springs. So therefore F is equal to mg, mass into acceleration due to gravity. So therefore we can write mg is equal to minus k1 into x1 for the first spring, and also mg is equal to minus k2 into x2 for the second spring. For the first spring, extension x1 is equal to minus mg by k1. Similarly, for the second spring, extension x2 is equal to minus mg by k2. Now, if Ks is the equivalent spring constant of the combination, then for the combination, the restoring force acting is F is equal to mg is equal to minus Ks into x. So where x is the total extension produced and Ks is the equivalent spring constant. So therefore, Ks is equal to, or x is equal to minus mg by kx. So from equation 1 we know that x is equal to x1 plus x2. So we got the value for x1 here. x1 is equal to minus mg by k1. x2 is equal to minus mg by k2. So x is equal to minus mg by ks. So substitute these 2, 3 and 4 in equation 1. So we will get minus mg by k1 minus mg by k2 is equal to minus mg by ks. So this is the equation we got. So here, removing the common factor minus mg and rearranging, so we will get 1 by ks is equal to 1 by k1 plus 1 by k2, or ks is equal to k1 into k2 divided by k1 plus k2. So if there are n number of springs, so here we got only 2 springs. Instead of that one, if we have n number of springs in a series, then the equivalent force constant is given by 1 by ks is equal to 1 by k1 plus 1 by k2 etc. 1 by kn. So that is equal to summation I is equal to 1 to n 1 by ke. So if a mass m is attached to the bottom of such a series combination of springs and set for oscillation, its time period is given by t is equal to omega 2 pi by omega. So here in this particular case, omega is equal to square root of m by k. So instead of k, we will have ks. So therefore the expression for the time period is t is equal to 2 pi into square root of m by ks. So where ks is the equivalent force constant for the series combination. Now let us consider the equivalent force constant for springs in parallel combinations. So let us consider two idealized springs S1 and S2. So spring S1 is having the force constant K1 and S2 is having the force constant K2, and they are connected in a parallel to each other and the mass is suspended here. Now each spring will share the total load and will have the elongation x. So S1 and S2 both are having the elongation x. So if Kp is the equivalent spring constant for the combination, then we can write the force acting or the restoring force acting on the system or the combination of the two springs is F is equal to minus Kp into x. So where Kp is the equivalent spring constant for the parallel combination. So restoring force in the spring S1 is given by F1 is equal to minus K1 into x. Restoring force in the spring S2 is given by F2 is equal to minus K2 into x, where K2 is the spring constant for the second spring. So now the total force acting is equal to the restoring force in the spring S1 plus the restoring force in spring S2. That is, F is equal to F1 plus F2. So F is equal to F1 plus F2. So F is equal to minus Kp into x, F1 is equal to minus K1 into x, and F2 is equal to minus K2 into x. So therefore Kp is equal to K1 plus K2. So Kp is the equivalent force constant for the parallel combination of the springs. So if Kp is the equivalent force constant for the parallel combination of n springs, so then Kp is equal to K1 plus K2 plus etc. plus Kn. So we have to add the spring constants of each springs there in order to obtain the equivalent force constant of the parallel combination. Now the time period. So if m mass is attached to the combination here, then set it into oscillation. So it will be oscillating with the time period which is given by t is equal to 2 pi into square root of m by kp. So here kp represents the equivalent force constant for the parallel combination. We can represent the simple harmonic motion by a complex notation. Complex number z has the form z is equal to x plus iy, where I is equal to square root of minus 1, which is termed imaginary. X is said to be the real part of the complex number and y is said to be the imaginary part. Both x and y are real numbers. The method of representation of the complex number in a coordinate form is called Argand diagram. So figure shows the Argand diagram in a Cartesian form. So there x is the projection of the z. So this x is the projection of the z on the x-axis and it is real. Similarly, the y is the projection of the vector z on the y-axis, that is also real. So here x-axis is called real axis and y-axis is called imaginary axis. So this is how we can represent the complex number in the Cartesian form. In polar coordinates, Argand diagram representation is done in terms of r and theta. Here z is equal to r cos theta plus I into r sin theta, where r is the magnitude of the z. So therefore z is equal to r into cos theta plus I sin theta. But from Euler's formula, we know that e to the power I theta is equal to cos theta plus I sin theta. So using this one, we can write the complex number z as z is equal to r into e to the power I theta. So this represents the magnitude of z, that is nothing but the r. So this is the real axis and this is the imaginary axis. So now the projection of this vector on this real axis is equal to r cos theta. So that is the real part of the complex number, and the projection of this r on the imaginary axis is r sin theta, which is the imaginary part of this particular complex number. So now this is the complex number representation or the Argand diagram in the polar form. In case theta changes with the time, then theta is replaced by omega t, that is theta is equal to omega t. So Argand representation will be as shown in the figure. The arrow having magnitude r rotates about the origin with the angular velocity omega. So therefore z is equal to r into e to the power I omega t. So when t is equal to 0, if theta is not 0 or z is already making an angle phi, then z is equal to r into e to the power I omega t plus phi. So this is the complex notation used for simple harmonic motion. So in equation e to the power I theta, if theta is equal to 90 degree, so then e to the power I 90 is equal to cos 90 plus I sin 90, that is equal to I. That is, if we multiply a complex number by I, then I into e to the power I theta, so this is equal to, so I is e to the power I 90 into e to the power I theta, so that is equal to e to the power I into theta plus 90. So that means the multiplication by I rotates z in anti-clockwise direction by 90 degree. Thus the theta becomes theta plus 90. So it is possible to represent simple harmonic motion by rotating vectors in organed diagrams. So during the rotation, position of the vector depends on a time t. So that is z is equal to r into e to the power I omega t. So thus the velocity v is equal to dr by dt. So that is equal to I into v naught into e to the power I omega t, where v naught is equal to r omega. So using the condition that is this one, so if you multiply by I, that means you are rotating the vector by 90 degree. So we will get v is equal to v naught into e to the power I into omega t plus 90 degree, because here I is nothing but e to the power I 90. So therefore v is equal to v naught into e to the power I omega t plus 90. So comparing 1 and 2, we see that the velocity vector v leads the displacement. So this represents the displacement and this represents the velocity. So the velocity leads the displacement by 90 degree. So now the acceleration. So acceleration is given by a is equal to d squared r by dt squared. So that is equal to I squared into r omega squared into e to the power I omega t. So here you can replace this I squared by e to the power I 90 into e to the power I 90. So that is nothing but e to the power I 180. So therefore we can write it as a is equal to a naught into e to the power I into omega t plus 180 degree. So where a naught is equal to r into omega square. So thus comparing 3 and 1, so we see that the acceleration is 180 degree ahead of the displacement vector. Simple harmonic motion can be represented as y is equal to a sin omega t plus 5 or y is equal to a cos omega t plus 5. A simple harmonic motion can be represented as a sine curve or cosine curve. Such variations, which could be represented by sine wave, is called sinusoidal variation. If we plot y versus t, we obtain a sine wave as shown in the figure. The quantity which varies sinusoidally can be represented as the projection of the rotating vector on a diameter. Or simple harmonic motion is correlated to the rotation of the z. So this type of representation is called phasor representation. So phasor is a complex representation of the magnitude and phase of a sinusoidal vibration.
In the organ diagram representation, we have for the rotation of Z in complex notation as Z is equal to R into e to the power I omega t plus 5. This rotating arrow Z, which has amplitude R and phase angle theta is equal to omega t, is the phasor. So in Cartesian form, the phasor Z is represented as Z is equal to A plus IB, where A is the X component and B is the Y component of the phasor Z. In polar form, phasor Z can be represented as Z is equal to R cos theta plus IR sin theta. So that is equal to R into e to the power I theta, or it can be simply represented as R angle theta. Examples. So here A and B represents the Cartesian form, phasors in Cartesian form. So that is A is equal to 2 plus I5. So here small a is equal to 2 and small b is equal to 5. Similarly, in this particular case, C and D represents phasors in polar form. So C is equal to 5 angle 60. So here theta is equal to 60 and R is equal to 5. So this is how we can represent the phasors. So when two or more vibrations make a simultaneous impact, the receiving system subjected to a complicated combination of all the incident vibrations. Mechanically, the resultant of two or more harmonic vibrations will be the sum of individual vibrations. So such additions are carried out in a simple way by expressing the vibrations as phasors. So by representing the vibrations in terms of phasors like this, we can add the different vibrations and subtract different vibrations easily. So it is easier to calculate the resultant of the many vibrations. Thank you.